So Magic the Gathering is celebrating its 30th birthday, and as part of that, Wizards of the Coast is creating a product called the 30th Anniversary Edition, and they are literally reprinting the Power 9, including Black Lotus, and Dual Lands. My initial response to this was to be super excited. It's like a brand new collector's edition. But then I went on Twitter and my excitement quickly turned into disappointment. Let's just jump into the announcement article real quick, and then we can talk about it. So, to celebrate 30 years of Magic the Gathering, we knew we had to go big. Big on the bankroll. Enter 30th Anniversary Edition. So, initially I was super excited about that. This is what the back looks like, and you've got that cool gold border, which is really reminiscent of Collector's Edition, but that's the back of the cards. What you really care about is the front. Because the front is a Black Lotus! Oh! But nah. I think one of my first complaints about this product is that there are any modern borders at all. If this is really supposed to be the collector's product, premium collector's product, for $1,000 that they say it is, then at least make all of the borders retro. But I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. 30th Anniversary Edition is a commemorative, collectible, non-tournament, legal product celebrating 30 years of Magic. It lets fans and collectors experience some of the most iconic elements of Magic's early years. So that's the first big thing that people are calling out. This is a non-tournament legal product, and so people are basically calling it proxies. Overpriced proxies. But again, we can discuss that in a moment. We'll just go through the rest of the article real quick. So we can see it has all of the staple cards that we've come to know and love from Magic's earliest days. You've got Shivan Dragon, Llanowar Elves, Lightning Bolt, and again, they're showing us all of the retro frames here, but it looks like the product will be for sale starting November 28th of this year, 2022, and it's got a $999 price tag. So this is $1,000. And aside from the cards not being tournament legal, that is far and away everyone's biggest gripe, everyone's biggest complaint. That's why the jimmies are rustled. That's why there are rees in the streets. So they expect to actually be able to deliver the product this year for folks who are in North America. And then here's a look at the actual booster pack itself. Again, this is not a full card set like the original Collector's Edition was. These are randomized booster packs, which is, again, kind of disappointing and what people are upset about. Each $1,000 display will only have 4 packs. And the worst part is that 13 of those cards have the modern frame. Only 2 of the cards per pack are retro frame, and one of them's a basic land. So it literally costs $1,000 to get 8 retro frame beta type cards. Again, cards that are not tournament legal, and again, 4 of those will be basic lands. Literally only 4 cards in retro frame for $1,000. So they actually do tell you here that the retro frame slot has a 3 out of 10 chance, a 30% chance to have a rare. So moving forward, they're gonna hype up the dual lands here. And they do say each dual land appears twice as frequently as any other non-dual land rare. This is true for both modern frame and retro frame duels. So it sounds like the duels are going to be twice as easy to pull as non-dual land rares, which I guess that's kind of generous. They're making duels easier to pull, but generous and this product, those two things do not go together in any way whatsoever. I should probably not have used the word generous in this entire video because this product is anything but. And while dual lands being reprinted is super cool, I thought this person made a really great point in that for paying this much, couldn't we at least have the concentric circle text boxes that are so iconic of dual lands? That's this little kind of, I think about it as like almost a little like snake pattern along with the old templating. At least make them look exactly like the old duels looked. Instead, no old school looking text boxes, just the half blue, half red, the 2 colors the duel produces, and then all this boring blank space. That doesn't look premium to me. I mean, the art is beautiful, and they go on to say that they have kind of remastered some of the art because like some of the art from the old school cards looks pretty rough. Like if you look at Channel, like the art is kind of rough, and so they've remastered them, they've brightened them up, they've cleaned up some of the lines and stuff, and they retain the original art, but it looks brighter, it pops more, and it looks like objectively way better. They go on to say that the other card that doesn't match its original rarity is Soul Ring. I don't know, I think Commander players are obsessed with Soul Ring or something. So we created a special new crop of the original art that will appear at common rarity in both the modern and retro frames. They also go on to say that they brought back the original white mana symbol, which is cool. That's this here. Yeah, and they're hyping up the Moxes again, but look at this modern border Mox. It just looks weird. It looks cheap. It looks like a counterfeit. I don't know, man. I just think all of them should have been retro border, old border. That's why we're buying this. We're collectors buying this for nostalgia and because we love ABU days. Like we just love the old cards. We don't want modern frames on old cards. It's just weird. But of course, they had to make it a chase, and so giving modern frames on the vast majority of the cards, and then like one card per pack having an actual retro frame, just, you know, makes it that much harder to get what you want. You have to buy that much more. Everything's that much more exclusive. I thought this part was funny, but totally expected. We wanted to be nostalgic, but not everything met our modern standards. So we removed 6 cards completely. The removed cards are these here, the ones that are not PC. Additionally, we made some smaller changes to a few other cards, mostly with flavor text. I don't know, that's kind of weird as well. I would love to know what those were specifically. I'm sure they weren't that bad. I'm sure they weren't actually offensive, but so they go on to say they're gifting 1 display to all WPN stores and 3 displays to premium WPN stores. At least they're giving them something. 30th anniversary edition celebrates 30 years of Magic by recapturing the, well, magic of the early years. It's a memorable, collectible, and iconic experience in a truly unforgettable way to commemorate our favorite game. To see all the cards, check out the gallery, and then we can go over here. We can actually look at all the cards, and there are a lot of cards. Yes, all the power, all the Mox, all the dual lands, they're here. But so are all these other random janky cards that nobody wants. So man, I'm really having a hard time even deciding how to feel about this product. Like I said, when I first saw the announcement this morning, I was really excited, and the way that Wizards explained it in their article, it got me excited. I'm like, hell yeah, I love vintage Magic. I love the old stuff. I don't actually own any duels, I don't own any power, but I remember being like 10 years old and buying dual lands on eBay for like 10 bucks each. I remember when the actual collector's edition wasn't worth jack shit. No one cared about it. I knew plenty of people who had those cards. I think I even had some from time to time, but no one cared about them. We just treated them like garbage. We shuffled them with no sleeves. Now they're worth like 50 grand for a set or something. I don't even know how much they're worth, but they're worth a ton. So this seemed like a chance to get another collector's edition set, but it's not a set. They're randomized boosters, and most of them have modern frames. And again, there's been a lot of interesting discussion about this on Twitter. I feel like the overwhelming response, at least from Magic Twitter, is negative.
Don't spend $1,000 on proxies. If you buy this, you're a fool. Who is this even for?
And that's like 99.9% of what I read. I was hard-pressed to even find like a single positive opinion about the product. The one somewhat positive take was from Kibler, and I really liked what he said. He said, I think 30th Anniversary Edition is the exact kind of thing WotC should make. It doesn't gatekeep actual game pieces from people behind high prices and allows them to target collectors directly like with Secret Layers. I'd much rather this than even more sets all the time. I also think in 5 years, many of the people complaining about it today are going to wish they'd bought it. Many people said the ticket costs for Magic 30, that's the big convention, were outrageous, but it sold out pretty much instantly. Maybe the Twitter versus calibration as to what the correct price point for things is a little off. And I think that's pretty true. But it seemed like Kibler probably regretted the things he was saying because everyone was probably raging at him and getting really upset, but I still thought this was a pretty sane take. Other people are straight up calling this a scam. People are saying, where's the deception to make this a scam? And I thought this was a decent retort. He says the deception is anchoring the price of proxy cards to the secondary market price of the real cards that they're proxies for. A historic parallel would be selling pyrite as discounted gold. I think the point that this guy right here is missing is that we have a precedent for these proxies to be worth a shit ton of money, and that's Collector's Edition. Collector's Edition, yeah, it originally sold for like 50 bucks, but now it's worth a fortune. And so people think that, yes, even though these are proxies, they could still be worth an absolute ton. Plus, Collector's Edition had those really squared off corners, whereas this has rounded corners, just like real cards. The only thing that's different is the back. But you're not going to see the back because everyone plays in sleeves anyway. Sure, you can't bring these to a sanctioned event, but these will be in tons and tons of Commander decks. They're also very high-end bling-in cards just for people's casual vintage play. Anyway, those are the main thoughts I have about this. I thought this was a pretty earth-shattering announcement in the Magic world today. It definitely felt that way by the way everyone was talking about it on Twitter. Again, this drops in a little over a month and a half, and I think it is going to sell out instantly. One thing we don't know is exactly how limited this is. They're not telling us that, I don't think. And so this might be crazy limited. I'm curious if they'll place a limit on the quantity that you can purchase, or if people can just purchase 10 or 20 of these. It's not financial advice, of course, but I do think that these will be really easy to flip. They'll be great to hold sealed. They'll probably outperform the S&P, unless somehow, miraculously, the entire community rejects the product. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think that little precious Magic Twitter is just a bit out of touch, and they don't totally understand how degenerate some collectors are. Guys, they reprinted Black Lotus. But I also thought it was a good point that the price on these is so outrageous that you could literally spend that money to buy real cards, real vintage cards, real dual lands. So I'm pretty torn on whether or not to buy any of these personally. I'm tempted to, but then again, I would feel like an absolute fool for opening them, and I'm not sure that I want to buy them just to hold them. I think there may be personally more gratifying ways to spend my money on collectibles than on WotC's cash grab. After all, one of my favorite sets of all time, one of my most nostalgic sets of all time, Mercadian Masks, came out 23 years ago today. And for just the price of a couple of these stupid things, I could get a whole box, a sealed box of masks. And overall, that'd probably make me a whole lot happier. Like most things, I have a hard time not seeing both sides of this argument. I see why it's a totally outrageous cash grab by WotC. The price on these is just so absolutely astronomical. It's just mind-blowing how expensive these are. I almost think $500 would have been a little more fair feeling somehow. I mean, you can't make these cheap. You can't just print a bunch of them, because then to some degree, I feel like it almost disrespects the reserved list cards. I just feel like reprinting them in any form or fashion, even as non-legal collector's cards, opens up this whole weird can of worms, and then all these discussions has to happen, and all these feelings have to come up, and all these jimmies have to get rustled. But I totally understand how cool it would be to open a pack and have a dual land in there, or a piece of power. And of course, people make the point that, yeah, why don't you just buy actual revised packs? And that's a pretty darn good point. I don't know, the more I think about it, the more I feel like this product is not worth buying. Unless you're gonna flip it, or you're gonna hold it and sell it later like it's a stock. I don't know. I give up. Drop a comment down below. I'd love to know what you nerds think. That's all for today. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.